I think sometimes the difficult part can be that's often how you discover that you have a shield and that you need to let it down is because you lose something that's good.
For sure. For sure.
Repeat
that again for the people in the back. No, you're spot on.
Which really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We have to, the biggest mistakes, the most painful mistakes that happen in my world were 100%, or not 100, 98% my fault. And it was usually because I was worried about the wrong thing. I was thinking the wrong, I didn't give the right person an opportunity. And what's funny is things are going pretty freaking good for me right now. I am so happy, like personally. And a little over a year ago, I wrote in my journal, because I write down everything. I keep a journal. And here's what it said. And because I had the close, I was intentionally working on trying to drop the shield, being more open. The running joke was like opening the chakras and everything. I wrote in my journal, I will say yes to adventures and opportunities presented by friends. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Renew Podcast. I am your host, Kristen Andre, and we are so glad you've joined us in our 5th season. We have dove right in and having some fun, and we're going to do it again today. So I've got, as always, my marvelous co-host, the wonderful Miss Mendoza.
Good to be back.
Is it good to be back?
I did take
today's topic. I don't know if you're going to like it.
I did. I took a very deep inhale
Valium?
that I should have. No,
deep inhale.
No, I did not take a Valium. I should have backed away from the mic when I did that. It probably came across.
Right. So here's what we're talking about today, because we, as we went into this season, I have made a commitment to really hit on some things and go a little bit deeper with the audience, because we've got a great group of followers, a great community that's following us. But I really want to talk about things that matter and things that are keeping us from the person we were meant to be, the person that we can be personally, professionally, financially, and really dive into some stuff. So today, I'm titling this episode, Drop the Shield. And y'all know I'm a big Wonder Woman fan. I'm not talking about the Wonder Woman shield, but maybe a little bit. I'm talking about.
Can we keep the one that's on the wrist?
You can keep the ones on the wrist, the deflectors. We can still. The deflectors are just to deflect the people, but the shield I'm talking about is. I will bear the soul in this one. I came across this the hard way, right? And what I mean by drop the shield is there's so many things layers of protection that we put on ourselves. So when I say shield, I'm thinking of like the armor that's keeping the knights from attacking us, right? And throughout the years, we build this layer of protection, the shield around us that's supposed to keep all the bad stuff from getting in, right?
Yes.
In medieval times, it was keeping the swords from hitting us and all the things. But now it's really not only keeping the bad out, but it's keeping the good out. And it's also keeping the good in. And what I mean by that is it's not letting all the good stuff of us be visible. So when I say drop the shield, I mean, what is the baloney that people are putting on that's not really them, but that's keeping them from growing?
I'd like to add a disclaimer to this episode.
Would you like to add a disclaimer? The marvelous Miss Mendoza would like to add a disclaimer to our...
Okay, in all seriousness, if you are listening to these episodes in this season and you want to practice this, get with someone and voice it. Someone you trust.
Yes.
Not on social media. Or just in anyone.
On social media, yeah.
Get with someone you trust and voice this, because I'm telling you, it makes it more real and more actionable, because I'm a little nervous about today's episode.
So, no, it's not. All right, so with the drop the shield, here, I had to go through this too.
Yes.
And here's what started it. I got called out on my bullshit. Can I say it?
Yes, you can.
I can't. I'm just cussing this season.
It's okay.
What is this
Drop
about?
it.
I got called out.
Drop the shield.
I got called out on my bullshit for having too many protective layers around me. And all of us have shields. All of us have them. Like, you are really enlightening. All the chakras are open if you don't have the shields, right? But we all have them, and it's a protective thing because something happened to us at some point. whatever it is. And I don't know what it is. It's different for everybody. But none of us have come through life to this point unscathed.
Touching my soul, Kristen.
We all had touching the soul. We all had crap happen, right? And what's interesting is my dad always said this to me. You guys know I'm a daddy's girl. My dad always said this to me. If all of us were to throw our problems and our history and our past and all our challenges on the table, we would probably take our own back. And it's always interesting to me. I have the great opportunity to work with some really amazing people. And when I hear their stories, these are people that I look at, I'm like, oh my God, they have it everything. They have it all together. They are just like perfect and buttoned up, and no one's perfect, but they're as close as you can get. And I hear their stories and you're like, oh my gosh, you went through that or you did that. And what's interesting to a person, all of the accomplished ones, they had the shield, but they dropped it or they got past it. And for me, it was probably several years ago. I'm going to say probably 3 or 4 years ago, where I got called out on my bullshit. They're like, you are so, like, you have got an armor around, like we were teasing the chakras. You've got an armor around. For me, it was opening up emotionally or things like that. I can help people all day long. Was doing great professionally, but I wouldn't let people in because I had I have my tiny little bubble, but I wasn't letting people in. And it was a protective barrier that I built, and I wouldn't let people in. I wouldn't let them help. I made it look like I've got this all together. And then I was exhausted and tired and wasn't going deep enough with my closest relationships. And some of my close relationships went kaput, because I wasn't paying attention. But it was because I had the armor around me, like, all right, I got it all together. This is cool. I'm making it all work. But until I dropped the shield, and I didn't drop it until people started calling me out and going, look, you at some point got to open up and just quit being crazy. For me, it was... if you guys have heard the masculine feminine dynamic, I was the dude. I was the guy. Meaning, like, I was the tough one. I don't need help. I can do all this. I'm an independent woman. I don't need a man type of thing. And that friggin' backfired. It backfired. It cost me relationships. It cost business. It just wasn't me. And it was so uncomfortable. So until I really was able to get called out on that and look at, all right, who am I as a person? Like, what do I really want life to be? And just let them in a little bit. Like, then things started to go good. And it was almost like a chink in the armor. So with the shield, you're not going to be able, I titled it Drop the Shield, but no, you can't drop it. You almost just have to, like, all right, let me just have a little crack. And you see a little bit of light shining through, and you're like, okay, that didn't burn so much. Sun didn't blind me. And then you open up a little more. Now, occasionally the sun blinds you and you close back up. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because I had that years before that. I opened my shield a little bit, let some light in. The light was a freaking fire, and it burned me, and I shut the shield back up. And I think that's what happens to most of us, is we have crap happen, and we shut down, and we put our little armor on.
I agree with that.
So that, mine was, for me emotionally, was to open up enough to trust that somebody was there for the right reasons, that they weren't trying to be a taker, that they weren't trying to take advantage of me, or that I could trust them to let them in. And then once they got that far, once they got past that crack, then it was to, all right, let me just open myself up and, allow, love in and things like that. That was, for me, for my shield. Some people's it's work. Some people it's, I don't know, with their parent or their child. What's your shield, Miss Mendoza?
So we revealed before the show.
We did. Because we had to talk it through.
We did. And rightfully so. I think we hit the nail on the shield.
Nail on the shield.
Nail on the head. I actually thought mine was going to be a little bit like yours, of let me handle everything.
Yeah.
Because I often had to do that as well.
Yeah.
And then you step into, well, if I handle it, I'm in control, which is also not true, right?
Right.
But
you're in control, but you're tired.
Well, and really, I would almost say you're still almost not in control.
That's fair. Yeah.
In the sense of, now I can control how I react to something, but I can't control the fact that what someone says or does hurts me.
Yes.
It can still hurt, but I can either, go take that hurt, heal from it, let it become something better, or the whole, better and bitter. I could get bitter, or I could get better. That's my control, but I couldn't control somebody else and what they did.
You can't control their
toward
actions,
me.
what they say.
Yes.
That's hard for a lot of people to realize, that you can control your reaction, but you can't control somebody else's action or words.
So I thought initially it was going to be that, and then we started asking some questions and talking about things, and I think that mine is actually people-pleasing.
Yeah. And we talked about people-pleasing. We talked about it in the last book, and You're Not For Everyone. We've talked about it in prior episodes. But if you really think about it, people-pleasing, it's a shield.
It is.
It really is. It is a shield to protect you from getting hurt or from disappointing other people. So people pleasing, I mean, the shield is, I don't want to disappoint this person.
Yeah. Which is, if you dig a little deeper, is almost my way of trying to control something.
Yeah.
Because if everyone else is happy, then we're all good and you don't have to worry about me. If everybody else is good, we don't have to worry about me. And then I can worry about me in my own little corner because everybody else is okay. That's my shield.
I think a lot of people think like that because I have, there were so many. What was funny when we did all the different types of examples in the book for people pleasing and stepping out of your comfort zone, there were way more people pleasers than any of the other categories. And so many of the stories I've had the opportunity to hear is like that's where they get hung up, is pleasing people. Mm-hmm. And there's a balance. Like you certainly want to be nice and help. I probably need to please people more than I do, but I'm a tick off people type of person. But no, there's a balance and there's an opportunity in that. But pleasing people and helping people that are in your circle is great. And at the same time, if it becomes a shield, that's where the challenge is. If it becomes a reason for you to kind of control the situation or, like you said, go off on your own, just like do my own thing. That's where it gets kind of tough.
Yeah.
Right?
And shields are interesting because back to your point, we usually, whatever we weld that shield out of is typically something that has happened in the past.
Right.
That protected us in that moment.
Yeah.
But then we go and more through life, and what you did then isn't really applicable to what you're trying to do now.
But it's so funny that we do. You're right. You're spot on. And we take the thing that happened to us. And I know that there's a lot of trauma. We've done episodes on trauma. I personally, this is trigger alert for some people listening. I personally think we have bastardized the word trauma. I really do. Because there are some people that have had major, major traumatic things happen, both micro and macro traumas. It has become a buzzword. Mm-hmm. Anytime something becomes a buzzword, I immediately start to hate it because it just means that everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. So the reason I bring that up, there are some major traumas that have happened to people, major, that takes a lot of people to, a lot of prayer, a lot of therapy, a lot of everything to get through. But then there are also some traumas, and I use that in quotes for those of you guys listening. There are some traumas that truly aren't that traumatic. We're just making them a thing. Right? So that's where I really want to challenge people is quit making it a friggin' thing. But look at it. I'd be real about it. And like, was this? Has I overcome it? You can live in the past or you can move forward to the future. We all have crap we've come through. Honestly, I've divorced parents. I've been through a divorce myself. 2/3 of my kids at any given moment are mad at me. Could I live there and wallow there? For sure. But what good is that going to do me to get to where I want to go? Yeah. So I think part of the shield and dropping it is figuring out what excuses and BS crap have I been putting up with that I need to move past.
Yeah.
And if you can't move past it on your own, if truly you are one of the people, disclaimer here, if you're one of the people listening who it is a major traumatic, get help. Get professional help to get you through that. But I'm going to venture to say 80-90% of us, what we are viewing as traumatic, if you really hear the stories of people who have been through real real trauma, yes, I know it's traumatic to you, but these are things we can get by. Mm-hmm. So, but that starts with dropping the armor that we built around us to protect us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and back to, some shields are welded out of pain for something, right? It doesn't necessarily.
Most of them, I would think.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something that it was trauma per se, but it was some sort of pain.
Yeah.
And I think, again, back to talking to a trusted voice about it, something that I have learned to appreciate it as I've gotten a little bit older is actually opposing viewpoints.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to agree with you and what you're saying, but it does give me something to examine.
I think that's fantastic. And I wish more people could see and hear opposing viewpoints.
And sometimes it will. Also, there are times when hearing an opposing viewpoint will make you stop and go, I've actually looked at this the wrong way the whole time. And it can open up a new world for how you view something.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of times opposing viewpoints are good. And, to your point earlier, somebody that's going to listen and hear you and do all that, because we tend to, as humans, we tend to generalize and we tend to everything, think about kids. Everybody hates me. Everybody's mad at me. It's not everybody. It's probably one person that you're but the same thing happens as a shield is not built overnight. It's we start to generalize and we start to say everybody hates. I'll bear it all here. Part of my challenge with opening up to people is if you guys are listening and you've ever, from a relationship standpoint, you ever been cheated on, that shield goes up and it is thick and it is hard to remove, right? Now, this is not my ex-husband. My ex-husband is a great person, but a gentleman that I dated for a long period of time after that ended up being an ass. He was a bad human. I've talked about him on the show before without naming names. He was a cheater. He lied. It was all the bad things. I was pretty darn open before that, and the shield got thick after that. I trusted no one. I didn't want to date. All men were terrible. Everybody, you generalize everything because if the hurt is so bad that it causes you to just curl up and put that shield on, you generalize. Everybody does this. Everybody does it. And I've heard it from relationships. I've heard it. Everybody cheats. Everybody leaves. No one's going to see you. All those things. From a professional standpoint, they second guess their partners. They think that everybody's out to swindle them. They think all vendors or clients or whatever are just trying to take their money. Any of that. Whatever you're starting to generalize that everybody does is a pretty good clue as to where your shield might be. Right?
Well, as you were going through that, I was literally just thinking to myself, it's interesting because, again, pointing to the fact that we have uncovered what my shield is, because I am the opposite. Everything's my fault.
But you generalize it because you said everything is your fault. Yeah,
exactly. And so that is what I do, and I generalize it to myself.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I was just talking to someone about this, and they also ever so kindly let me know that that's actually a very selfish way of thinking.
You thinking it's all about you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even
most people aren't thinking about you.
Exactly. Yes.
I think about you all the time, but other than that, other than me and Isaac, most people aren't.
But it is true in the sense of, we often think that our shield is something that is protecting us.
Yes.
But it could be that thing that is actually hurting us.
And that's exactly the point and why we're saying drop it, or start to drop it, start to open it up a little bit, because I viewed it forever as protective. If I don't date, and you guys know, any of my close friends, a lot of my friends listen to this. They're like, it became a running joke. She doesn't date. She didn't go. I wouldn't. I could find something. The Rock could show up, and I would have probably not The Rock. The Rock or Keanu excluded. Anybody else could have shown up, and I would have found something wrong because I was generalizing I was protecting me, but what I was doing was blocking. If the shield is up, you miss all the good. You know what I mean? Like somebody could think of your knight in shining armor, like the medieval person. They're protecting themselves from the swords, but they also can't see. They can't see out of those things. They don't know what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
So that's what, when we talk about dropping the shield, I don't mean be carefree and throw caution to the wind. I just mean look at it situationally. Get rid of the everybody, or it's all about me, or it's all about them, and think about this one situation, what's right in front of me right now. is that, do I need a shield? And your gut will tell you. Your gut will tell you if you need a shield. You know, if I really follow my gut, I'm usually spot on. Mm-hmm. Most of us are. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we're deflecting the good when we do that.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, like, what do you feel like? For me, I know I missed out on opportunities and friendships and things like that because I was so guarded. And I'm still very guarded. And I've said this before with those of you guys that have been listening for a while. I always talk about GRASP growing group. Like, I categorize the people in my world, and I am fiercely widely open to my inner circle. And my inner circle is very small. So those people, there is no shield. There's nothing. They see the good, the bad, the ugly, and they call me out on it or praise me accordingly, right? The middle group, they start to see a little. But a shield is okay from a protective barrier, but it shouldn't be okay as a wall that keeps people from getting in.
Yeah.
The right people. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think sometimes the difficult part can be is that's often how you discover that you have a shield and that you need to let it down, is because you lose something that's good.
For sure. For sure. Repeat that again for the people in the back. No, you're spot on.
Which really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We have to, the biggest mistakes, the most painful mistakes that happen in my world were 100%, or not 100, 98% my fault. And it was usually because I was worried about the wrong thing. I was thinking the wrong, I didn't give the right person an opportunity. And what's funny is things are going pretty freaking good for me right now. I am so happy, like, personally. And a little over a year ago, I wrote in my journal, because I write down everything. I keep a journal, and here's what it said. And because I had the close, I was intentionally working on trying to drop the shield, being more open. The running joke was like opening the chakras and everything. I wrote in my journal, I will say yes to adventures and opportunities presented by friends. That was it. That was it. Super easy. By friends, not to anybody that said. I wasn't going to say.
Yes.
I
which
didn't
is
do.
Key.
Correct.
Which is key.
I did
yes.
not do a year of yes, which I know is a big book. I'm not going to say yes to everything for
exactly.
years.
Yes.
People ask me to do crazy stuff, right? But I wrote down, I will say yes to adventures and opportunities from friends. So from the right people. Mm-hmm. And I won't say all, but a large part of all the cool stuff that I have going on right now, personally and professionally, came from saying yes to the right people. But these were the people that the shield had to be dropped. They never would have brought me the opportunities if the shield wasn't dropped, right? So I'm wondering, for most of you guys listening, what your shield is preventing you from embracing.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, opportunities, jobs. I don't know. I just got to think there's a ton, because everybody I know, not everybody, the large portion, because I don't want to generalize, right? The large portion of people I see out there have some kind of shield that's blocking some really cool stuff. And I mean, you can see it in people.
I would say, just as we're talking now, you have to be willing to feel the pain to find what that shield is.
Yeah.
And determine how to let it go. And
it's not easy. It's not, you're not going to let it go. I mean,
which
I'm
is
talking,
why we don't
my
do
shield,
it.
I still have it. Don't get me wrong. I still bring it out when I need it. But there's some chinks there's some cracks in it, which is good. But this was years. This was not like, okay, I'm all of a sudden going to be open to all people and give them the benefit of the doubt. Nope, sure don't.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get there. My challenge is, wherever you are on your shield journey, is you just got to keep moving in that direction, and first and foremost realize that you have a shield.
When I guarantee.
You guarantee.
Guarantee
I love the
guarantees. The pain of discovering the shield and working through it would be much less than discovering what you've lost or missed out on by not doing the work, as I like to call
Yes.
it. The work
and it's
is painful.
It is work.
It really is.
And it's hard. And it's like I said, it's not overnight. It may take a couple years. And I actually had somebody say this to me recently, not about me. It was actually about a mutual friend. And we were talking about this person, and the friend had said, you know what? Once this person finally drops all those protective layers, the life that he wants is right there. Mm-hmm. Like, right. It's just, but I think we have those. We have these things we're like, oh, but it's so good. And the analogy, like we feel, and I'm not saying things have to be horrible. I mean, your life can be good and you can still have a shield.
Right.
But I see the picture that keeps coming in my head. I saw this meme. I'll have to post it. It was a little kid holding a tiny teddy bear. Have you seen this one?
No.
And it was Jesus. It was a Jesus meme. So, all right. So it was a little girl holding a teddy bear.
Okay.
And it was a teeny little teddy bear, and she was holding it. And she says, and Jesus was standing in front of her, and she goes, but no. Bear? She goes, yes, I don't want to let go of this because I love it. And behind Jesus's back was a massive teddy bear. And I think that keeps sticking out to me. It's like, what is the teddy bear? The teddy bear for a little kid, it's a teddy bear. For adults, it's a shield. Yeah. I mean, it really is. What are you holding on to so fast that you're like, whoa? So maybe we need to redraw it with a shield. But there's probably so much more on the other side of fear, on the other side of thing. I've got that quote on my computer. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. The shield is our fear. Mm-hmm. It's what are we afraid is going to happen? We're afraid someone's going to leave or cheat. We're afraid someone's going to, not be happy with us. Mm-hmm. So whatever it is we fear, that's the shield.
Yeah.
And once we can get past that, there's some really cool stuff.
Well, I think of course the reason why we keep the shield up is to protect from repeating a situation. But but most of us have to repeat I don't know if I'm just a slow learner, but I repeat the situation a lot before I learn my lesson. Well, in my thought process,
unintentionally, I'm just
but yes, because my thought process in my mind was saying that but every time you learn something from it.
Yeah.
And so as long as you're moving in that direction where you're letting the shield down and you're learning whatever the next thing is, and maybe you have a jerk reaction where you put it back up. Eventually you'll feel strong enough to put it back down again, and you're going to learn something else through that process that will help you to maybe keep it down.
And that's where friends and coaches and therapists and counselors are so important, because they can help you with that shield. They can, if they know you, they can say, hey, you know what? It's good. You can let it down. We're good. So that's where the right people in your world can make a big difference. Mm-hmm. It's okay to trust this person to get this done, or it's okay to, where they could see, especially for me, like the people pleasers in my world, I know that's how they are, and I know they're going to go out of the way, so I intentionally don't ask for things, I try to lessen their burden. So if you can surround yourself with the right people, then it's easier. It's not they're going to help carry the shield, but they might when you need it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's an opportunity for all of us, because we have them. I can't thinking through my friends and thinking through even like the most people I would look at and go, oh my God, they're so like super cool and successful and accomplished. We all got something.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? None of us are getting out of here unscathed.
I love that you say that, because that's also a framing of the mindset, right? I will tell you, and again, this is a little bit different from trauma that we were talking about, but there are certain situations that we go through. I know all that I've been through is maybe who I am.
For sure.
Right? Like from my detail-orientedness, to being able to laugh in certain situations, because sometimes that's what you have to do, right? The best thing you can do is it's almost like making your face smile, and then the rest of the feeling goes throughout your body. But I think a lot of what we go through makes us who we are. And if we view it that way, that if it was on the table and you took it away, that would take away some of who you are.
It takes the good and the bad. We honestly think about it. none of us know somebody who is perfectly happy all the time, hits all their goals, does everything they're supposed to, looks perfect. No, we don't know that. And if we do, they're friggin' lying to you, I can promise you, right? Because even the ones I've looked at, because I've got some friends and people I know that I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got it all. And then you get to know them and they open up to you and they bare their heart and you're like, oh, no, they got stuff. We all got stuff. But I think we worry too much about, I don't know if we worry about what other people are thinking or anything like that. You know, I want you to give away all your F's. I've said this before. Quit worrying about what other people are thinking. Give them away. Yeah. I don't give an F what people are thinking. I mean, maybe my inner circle people, but other than that, but that's what allows us to kind of, you know, get past the fear a little bit, is we have to know that the people on the other side of the shield, when we drop it, aren't going to start throwing daggers at us, right? Which is why maybe it's the people. Maybe some people need to be exited. The ones holding daggers need to go.
It's interesting you say that of kind of confiding in your friends. I saw on social media recently this video of this woman that was like, essentially her voice was, check on your strong friends.
Yes.
Because you know, you've got like your group of friends and it's usually the strong individual that everybody else is coming to, and then they don't necessarily have anyone to go to. It's like, check on the strong people too, because just as you said, they may look like they have it all together, but we all are working through something.
But I agree 1,000,000%. And if we really are less concerned what other people are thinking about us, we'll pay attention to those things. Because I literally have had 2 people this week, well, one this week, one last week, that I texted that are close friends of mine, that I was just sensing they were off. I was sensing it. I could kind of tell by the way they were showing up when I'd seen them, or like somebody had posted something, I was like, that's kind of off. So I just shot a text, said, hey, thinking of you, hope you're good, what's going on? And it was an open-ended question. And to a person, both of the 2 were like, yeah, it's been a bad week. Here's what's going on. They needed that out. But it was only because I wasn't thinking about me. I was thinking about them. And I slowed down and got quiet enough to realize, all right, that doesn't sound like them. So we have to pay attention to other people, which is why I intentionally keep my little bubble small, because I can know my people. I can sense them. I can feel them, right? Yeah. And then they can do the same for me. And then I know that it's safe to kind of let my guard down a little bit. I'm still guarded for sure. I still have a shield. It comes out every so often, but it's usually a gut reaction now. So I think it took a long time, and it took some bad crap, and it took me messing up a few relationships, you know, like not focusing on the things I needed to. I've said that before, like with the girls and everything, but it just, we all got to get there. We all have to go through the journey to get there. I wish we didn't need a shield. Darn Adam, but you know, we definitely do, right? We all have bad stuff that happens to us.
Well, it's encouraging in a sense when you put it that way, because it is true that if everything in life was roses, you wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't know.
That'd be kind of
that
boring too, though.
It really would be. You wouldn't know that you had a bouquet of roses if you didn't have to go through some thorns. Sorry, now I have Bret Michaels in my head.
We were having an offline conversation about Bret Michaels, and now Whitney can't stop thinking about him.
I mean, you know, every rose does have its thorn, but
I'm just impressed you knew that.
I thank you very much. Well, that's what makes, in a lot of instances, Bret would kill me. He's like, you're murdering my song, Whitney. But that's what makes the rose kind of beautiful.
It is.
Sorry, bad analogy, but.
No, it's totally true, because it would just be another flower, right?
Exactly.
There are a lot of flowers out there, but if you really, no, we need the thorns.
Yeah.
We need that, because we don't learn in the beauty.
Yeah.
We appreciate in the beauty. We learn in the mess. Right?
Oh God, now that made me think of
Christianism, we got it. Let's put it down.
That was. Right? I had another quote.
But we do. We appreciate the things that are pretty, but they don't often teach us lessons. You know, I think we've got to take the time to really go through and figure out what we're supposed to learn from it. And honestly, we're going to keep getting the test and the challenge, and the armor's going to get thicker and thicker if we don't learn the lesson we're supposed to learn. Whitney's diving through her computer here.
Are you ready?
She's going
this
to quote.
Is so good, because this made me think of this. This is from a TV show, y'all. Sometimes it is good to watch TV. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Fire away.
It is no bad thing to be lost at sea. When land comes into view again, you will appreciate it with the keenness that is denied to those who know nothing but the sanctity of the shore.
I like that. What the heck TV show was that on, though? It's a great quote.
It's actually
I'm like, what are you watching?
I'm not even gonna lie. It's a BBC. It's a BBC show.
I'm like, I don't even know.
Isn't that good, though?
Very profound, but I like it. Is good because if
It's
you
wonderful.
really, that's what we're talking about. Like, I don't want you to not have pain. I don't want you to not have experiences and lessons and crappy people and crappy happenings that happen to you, because if you don't have those things, you will never appreciate when the good stuff comes along. If the jerk that I went out with hadn't taught me all the things not to do, and the person I don't want in my world, I would never appreciate the people that are in my world that offer so much better. I wouldn't be the person that you know what I mean? You grow into the person you want to be, and you attract the people that you want to attract from the bad stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And even those relationships, because I hear the stories, y'all. Y'all know I get to work with a lot of people, and I hear a lot of stories, and even the ones we think are great on the outside, you know, there's pain in everything. That's part of what, like, and that it all started, that whole Adam and Eve, that whole Garden of Eden thing. We went downhill from there. But with that said, there's some cool stuff going on in this world.
Yeah, I thought I was going to put on the whole armor of God to get out of this episode, but I didn't.
The armor of God, the armor of God's fine. The hedge of protection's fine.
My shield.
But the armor of God, you can carry your Bible. You armor God all day long. I'll Bible quote you. I'll Bible verse you.
Shield up.
But that's still, part of that's protection, and we want.
It is.
But the whole armor of God, whose armor is that? His or yours?
God's armor.
There we go. Let him handle the armor.
Amen.
Let him.
Mic drop. The show is done.
Let him handle the armor. So that's kind of like, as we're going through, like, we feel like this was my armor. Is I felt like I had to do all the things.
Yeah.
I had to protect me and my girls and my business and all my friends and all the people.
Yeah.
And I honestly shunned anybody that tried to help, because I felt like I didn't want to be seen. For me, I didn't want to be seen as weak. That was my shield. I want it to be seen as I can do it. I've got it all. I've got it all covered. Because I'm like you. I had to do it for so long. I was carrying all the burdens, all the the child rearing and the finances and all that stuff. I had to do it all, and I resented doing it all. I will tell you, I flat out resented having to be all things, and the disciplinarian, the breadwinner, all that stuff. Totally resented it. So instead of changing it, I just built the armor. I can do it all. I don't need your help. I don't need anybody. And that just wasn't a fun place to be, because it wears you out a little bit.
Yeah.
That armor's heavy, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Whether it's a whole shield, a whole body of armor, or just the shield, it's freaking heavy.
Yeah.
So the quicker you can drop that, then you can start allowing the good stuff in, and the weight starts to get lifted a little bit. I am not a tiny person, but I am way too big to be, or way too small to be carrying around a whole plate of armor.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking through this, like, and as I feel like I've done some work. I got a lot more work to do. I think all of us do. So as you're thinking through this and listening, my challenge to each of you guys is to figure out, first of all, what the heck's causing the armor? What are you scared of? What little dragon are you're trying to fend off with this thing, right? So whether it's, I'm afraid I'm going to let somebody down. I'm afraid I'm going to let in the wrong person, right? So what do you need to do to be able to get on the other side of the fear? Because all the cool stuff, that's where it is. Whitney's got a big old smile on her face. Those of you guys not watching the live stream, she's like, I don't know if it's a smile of relief or a smile of like, whoo,
woo, we did it.
We did it. No, she's just worried. Well, I can ask you more questions if you want me to dive in. No, but I think for all of it, that goes to the point you said earlier. We got to be real with ourselves about what it is we fear. And all of us have. I have it too. I am so afraid to trust the wrong person. I am so afraid to let down. I'm afraid to let down people too, because I pour so much into my circle, my relationships, my clients, that I'm like, oh, I got to make this work. And sometimes, it's exhausting to carry that around. So you've got to really evaluate, like, all right. But the one thing I know is we're all going to have a shield to an extent. We're supposed to. But it just doesn't need to be the full surround system type of thing, right? And the biggest takeaway I'd have is you've got everybody listening. One, after you've identified your fear and what's causing you to hold that shield, figure out who the heck else you need to tell about your shield. You need to share the shield with that can help you carry it or help you objectively know when it's okay to put it down. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, because my friends will call me out. They're like, all right, being a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. My other piece of encouragement is to start now. If you do it now, if you figure that out now, it's going to be much less painful if you continue to kick it down the road.
For sure. And I think as you start to put it down, realize and understand that there's going to be a time where something goes wrong and you pull it back up, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But don't let it build the wall. Because I think I lived within the wall for so long that I never let it down. There were literally probably a decade of my life, probably in my mid-30s to mid-40s, where my wall was impenetrable. No one could get around that wall. And during that time, I don't really feel like I was able to be myself or able to be the person that I know I can be. And I'm still growing into that person, but if the wall's up, you can't grow. I mean, you're confined to those walls. So I think the opportunity we all have is figure out what's scary and face it head on. And if you can't face it head on, find your people to help you face it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes my people have to push me out of the freaking wall and hold me out there and kicking and screaming, because sometimes it's just that scary. Mm-hmm. But there's some cool stuff once you get out there. Yeah. Once you lose sight of the shore, right?
Agreed.
I like it. See, we didn't terrorize you too bad today, Whitney.
Did okay.
You did okay. But I think that the walls you have, the walls I have, they're all very, very common. And I think the more we can drop the walls, drop the shield, and embrace the things that we need to get past the fear, we've got some really cool stuff happening. Love it. All right, guys. Dropping some shields, finding the people to help you drop them. So we hope this was helpful. We thank you so much for joining us again. We're going to keep diving into some topics, all things related to personal and professional development, financial development, all that good stuff, but really helping you guys move forward with a growth mindset and renew all the things that will be great in your life. So until next week, we will see you. I guess we'll see you then, and have a fantastic week.